Do you want to know what the top real estate agents are doing right now to make a lot of money? Well, stay tuned. You'll be glad you did. Hey there, my name's Kenneth French with vastassetdefense.com, a unit of vastsolutionsgroup.com. So, I've been working with real estate agents all over the country, the top real estate agents, who I've put together a list of basically 10 things, 10 items that they do to be successful and really rock it. And that's what this is about. Once again, my name's Kenneth French with Vast Asset Defense. And man, are you going to be happy that you're here? You know why? Because you're going to make money from this presentation. Plus, there's going to be a little bonus at the end. I think you're going to like that. So why don't we get straight to it? First, thank you very much for being here, by the way. It's a huge compliment that you're spending time here. But then again, I know you're here because you want to end up making a lot of money. So let's get right to it. You're here to make money, as I said. So who am I? Real quickly, I'm Kenneth French. I go by Kenner. Forbes.com. I'm a small business contributor, or I should say. Semi-retired, 10 years. For 10 years, I did nothing, relaxed, and now I'm working harder than ever. I'm really involved in artificial intelligence. I love it. It's helped small business owners. It's helped us. We've been doing it since 2018, and we're using it to help our clients. And who are our clients here at vastassetdefense.com and also vastsolutionsgroup.com? Small business owners, usually real estate agents or investors. I'm assuming that's why you are watching and listening to this. I'm a family man, 2 kids, and a wife. We live in rainy Seattle, but don't shame me for that. I do apologize for that, but I'm having fun living in Washington State, even though it's a little rain here. Once again, here to talk about money, a lot of money. So you're going to hear the top 10 secrets of A-list real estate agents, and I would call them entrepreneurs. That's one of the big overriding elements of what I would suggest that they have put forth towards me is I've been able to figure out that, being a real estate agent doesn't put them in a box. They're just entrepreneurs who also do real estate sales or group sales as far as bringing in teams, etc. By the way, this is not going to be in order. We're going to be flipping around. You might see number 3, number 5, number 8, number 9, number 10, whatever the case is. Going to be out of order. Why? So you pay attention. There's going to be a bonus at the end also, so you pay attention. Number 3, S corporations. I just got off the phone just a few moments ago with an individual. She's actually a client. Before, when she's a big time real estate agent, right? She was bringing all the money into her social security number, meaning she was 1099. Well, you know what that meant? She was paying taxes, a lot of taxes on the full amount. Sometimes, depending on your circumstance, if you have your LLC taxed as an S corp, that potentially can lower your tax liability because you're having a low salary, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. Having a low salary, which therefore you're going to be taxed differently on the difference between the whole amount and whatever your S corp salary is. And usually you're paying a little bit more taxes on the salary than the overall amount. So what do you want to do? Have a low salary as a result. By the way, as we get into this, I want you to know vastsolutionsgroup.com has been around since 1969. I took over in 2006. We are solely focused on helping small business owners, specifically real estate agents and real estate investors, to mitigate their taxes using artificial intelligence. At vastassetdefense.com, we do tax, finance, and estate planning asset protection to help the small business owner, the real estate agent specifically. Anyway, S corporation, it's something to look at. And what I would say is talk to your advisor. Now, sure, we love it if you stop by vastassetdefense.com, but what I would also say is your advisor knows what's going on in your situation. Now, we could be a sounding board. We can help you meet whatever your needs are. But what I would also say is your advisor knows what's going on in your tax situation, your financial situation, your legal situation. But if they don't understand some of these concepts, 1, run, or 2, you can come to us and we can chat and see if we could be basically a sounding board. And, maybe we do have some ideas. A lot of our business comes from, financial advisors, tax professionals who need help to understand some of these advanced topics that we work with, because some of our real estate agents are so large. Anyway, number 3, S corporations, looking at S corporations. Number 7, 1099s. I would say most of the big real estate agents with whom we work, they don't have a bunch of employees. For the most part, by the way, there's rules you have to, in social mores, you have to abide by, but they don't have a bunch of employees. Instead, they have 1099s who legally, by the way, who are doing business and projects for other people, but at the same time, they're also doing projects for them, the big time real estate agents. Now, the nice thing there is you pay a different amount of taxes. So what I would say is you got to abide by the rules, there's regulations, et cetera, et cetera. But in a lot of cases, it does not make sense to have employees when you can have 1099 contractors, as they're called, chief financial officer. So sometimes virtual financial officers, or sometimes they call them VCFOs or virtual CFOs, or rented CFO, whatever the case is. I would say our top agents also do have either 1099 or employees who are chief financial officers. They look over everything. Therefore, the agent can be moving forward and doing whatever he or she wants to do as far as bringing in business or whatever the case is. So I would say that's one thing to consider. Number 5, the top secret of truly A-list real estate agents is to have a chief financial officer. And we'll get into a little bit about bookkeeping. Tax deductions. Number 8, a lot of real estate agents, especially the top ones, don't even realize you should be taking tax deductions much more aggressively than they are. I'm not saying cheat. I'm not saying steal. I'm not saying do anything running afoul of regulations. But what I would say is you got to make sure you're taking care of the tax deductions. Even though I said a lot of top agents are not taking their deductions, I would still say in general, most are taking their deductions. And the nice thing is they're doing it the smart way. But that might be one of the different elements of a top agent is they're taking the deductions. So what I've seen is they are taking the deductions, which is a smart thing to do. Number 10, strategic alliances. Now this blows me away. The top agents are usually having strategic alliances with someone within the sphere of influence. It might be a lawyer, it might be a CPA, it might be a mortgage company. They hit strategic alliances up more than most real estate agents, which maybe that's the reason we're talking about A-list top real estate agents. You got to hit the strategic alliance groups because those are the people that are going to give you business. Would you want to spend money on Facebook, on Google Ads, or whatever the case is, when you have a strategic alliance partner? Instead of spending all that money on some of those ads, you can work with one strategic alliance partner and they have their mouthpiece acting for you when they're working maybe with 10, 20 people versus you spending money on ads or working one-on-one or knocking on doors or calling people, right? Strategic alliances, that I would say that's the number 10 biggest component, smartest thing that some of the top agents are doing, that A-list agents are doing. Number 2, bookkeeping. I know it sounds crazy because people think, whatever, I don't want to do my books. A good bookkeeper makes a huge difference. That bookkeeper can help you get your books in order so you know where your assets are, so you know where your expenses are, so you know what your good rates of returns are. When you're spending money on let's just say, well, all it is an investment when you're investing in your business, right? Or running your business, really. If you know that, let's say, Division A is doing well, Division B is not doing well, you want to get rid of Division B, let's say, and work on Division A. Well, one way of doing that is by having a good bookkeeper. If you work with a good bookkeeper, then that person, who knows, might be able to help you that much better than, well, a bad bookkeeper, or than not having a bookkeeper at all. Because how do you know if Division A or Division B is doing well unless you have a good set of books? And usually it's worth much, much more. You have a huge rate of return because you have a good bookkeeper in-house, or 1099 salary. I mentioned I was going to talk about salaries. This is number 4, top secrets of top agents. Keep your salary low. Now, I'm not going to say, unbelievably low, but keep it low enough so you pass the IRS rules. There's all sorts of specifics here. What I would say is, again, go talk to your advisor. But what I would say is, the lower the salary, usually the better off you are. Have to pass tests. Make sure you're doing it in line with your consultation. But that's one of the biggest things we see. Sometimes we'll see salaries not only of S Corp, C Corp, et cetera, where they're through the roof, and there's a bunch of tax dollars that are being lost. And that's like what we try to spend money on, and resources are lowering tax liability for our clients. So one of the big things that we're finding, especially for top agents, is they're a little bit smarter when it comes to lowering tax liability by having a low salary, even though they're making a huge amount. Number 6, putting your finances on autopilot. What do I mean by that? I would say the top agents, it's really, really smart, is they automate, for the most part, they automate their finances. I think that's a very, very smart thing to do. It's something that a lot of people don't think about in the general public, but for some reason, the top agents, the A-list agents, They're putting their finances on autopilot. They're being methodical on their expenses, on their income, et cetera, et cetera. That's something to think about if you're an agent and you want to get to the next level. Top agents are also doing number 9, putting a moat around their business, asset protection. I never even thought about that until I really started working with some of the bigger ones. You work for 20 years, 30 years, for whatever the case is, as a top agent, you don't want to lose it because of a lawsuit. Usually if you're a big agent, you end up getting into real estate. You end up owning real estate. Well, one way of doing it is to have proper asset protection kind of structure. And we call it putting a moat around your assets. Basically, let's say back in the old days, they used to have, here you see a castle with water around it. So, the bad guys, bad girls wouldn't come and attack the castle. Well, if you have water around it, it's going to be more difficult. Well, same concept with asset protection. If you have your LLCs, they're tightly wound, no one's going to attack you potentially because everything's structured correctly. Well, that might stave off a lawsuit. Now, if you're having all your real estate owned, or maybe even your company that you're doing as a sole prop with you're basically naked, someone could come after not only your specific business, but also who knows all your real estate, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say go back, talk to your asset protection attorney. By the way, asset protection, we have Bob Bloom, who's a partner at vastassetdefense.com, through his company, his law firm, Asset Defense Team, where they put together asset protection plans. They also do estate planning, but they put together asset protection plans to help the business owner, help the real estate agent, in this case, the top real estate agent, make sure they're taken care of as far as putting a moat around their assets. You'll see the more money you make, the better off you are with having a true moat around your business. You do not want to work for, as I mentioned at the outset, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the case is, and lose it because of a frivolous, stupid lawsuit. I made this one specific as number 1. Why? Because I believe that so many people do not work with their CPA, especially top agents. I would say top agents are doing the right thing, generally speaking. Who knows where all the money is in a community? Financial advisors, number 1, by the way. Also, number 2, tax providers. Financial advisors sometimes aren't thought of well enough nowadays. So really, I would put that number 1 moniker on CPAs, tax providers. If you work with your tax provider, he or she will know when people are selling their house, when people are buying homes, right? So that's another thing that top agents do. They work with CPAs, tax providers, and then sometimes also financial advisors. I would say that's number 1, right? Because then let's just say a CPA is working with, or any tax provider, by the way, is working with 20, 30, I don't know what the number is. Let's say it's 400 people. That's 400 people you could be working with potentially to market, right? Spend some time, spend a week, whatever, I don't know, a week just working with CPAs and your CPA, by the way. If you're giving he or she leads, they're giving you leads, you're helping them, they're helping you. Plus, again, there's a huge group that normally tax providers are working with. I talked about bonuses. I want to give a couple of bonus ideas. Years ago, we started artificial intelligence for lowering tax liability for 2018. We had our own model, actually in 2010. But now, not enough people are talking about artificial intelligence, but we're finding that most top real estate agents are. So think about that. Most real estate agents are not talking about our artificial intelligence. They're not utilizing it. They're not pushing it to their own staff or maybe even to their affiliates. Well, if you think about it, the top agents are. Why? Because they know that it's going to make them that much more profitable. I would say, look at artificial intelligence. It helped us. Again, we started using AI in 2010. We really had our own model we call Einstein. 2018, it's really what's helped us in this crazy marketplace that we're in to grow and grow and grow. Look at artificial intelligence. It'll make your business much more streamlined and probably making more money at the end of the day. That's a bonus right there. The web, I know it's crazy. People think, blockchain isn't real estate. It is. A number of our top agents just got off the phone with one of them today, as a matter of fact. He's investing a lot of money in what they call Web 3.0, or basically the blockchain. All that is real estate. He's also going out and buying domains in, let's just say, Florida, Texas, California, et cetera, because one day the blockchain might be worth something, really worth something. Those domain addresses, you might have mine. A personal one's rkennerfrench.com as an example. If you get that on the blockchain, that might be worth some money down the road. You could get them cheap now, By the way, I own over 300 and my values have gone up, and it's still young in the overall scheme of things when it comes to Web 3.0. Taxes. A lot of the top agents, they're slashing their taxes. They're actually spending time working on their taxes. I believe the reason I decided to get into tax mitigation was because I was talking to small business owners, really real estate investors, figuring out the biggest expense they have would be taxes. And if I can help lower that tax liability, those people's tax liability, well, they don't have to work as long in retirement. They don't have to work, or their money's going to last longer in retirement because we've been able to lower their tax liability. So think about that. Tax liability is something everyone hates to talk about, hates to think about. But if, as I mentioned, the number one element, for top real estate agents, if you're working to slash the tax liability with them, you'll be happy you did. I promise you that. Think about it. How much money you gross, it's how much money you net. At the end of the day, how much you take home. One thing to think about, top agents definitely seem to care and take into account their taxes. Here's all the disclosures. Here's all the crazy stuff which we have to abide by. For whatever reason we have to do it. The legalities. Everything we've talked about, informational. Don't act on something you've seen on a web or a podcast, or whatever the case is. Now, what I would also say is something to think about, something to really think about. Go to your advisor. I know I said that earlier. Your advisor might be able to help you to, slash your tax liability or get your books in order or put a moat around your assets. You just never know. Just have that conversation with your advisor. Again, if they don't understand some of these concepts, we are here to help. I want to help you as a business owner, as a real estate agent, as a top real estate agent, or become a top real estate agent if you need some help. Once again, my name is Kenneth French. I'm with VastAssetDefense.com. I said there's going to be another bonus. You see here, book that I wrote. Remember how I said I'm Forbes.com small business contributor? Just left that title just a short while ago. But what I amassed was a bunch of articles that I've written over the years. 8 mistakes that can upend your retirement, as an example. Anyway, this book, you get a free book. If you email us, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, email us about the term book, BOOK. You'll get a copy of this free because you've stuck with us. I really appreciate you sticking with us. Hopefully this has been helpful. It's been, even fun, by the way. Now, what I would say is, if you have any questions, you need any help, go ahead and email us, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. If you have any questions, it's great working with advisors, great working with agents, because they're the top agents, especially helping people to get to the top of the mountain. Why? Because we end up getting referrals. We love getting referrals. Agents know a lot of people. Usually they're the personality people. They refer business to us. So that's another thing. If you have any ideas of any people who would be advantaged by seeing this video, listening to this audio, I'd love it if you can pass them our way. Once again, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. Once again, Kenneth French of VastAssetDefense.com. It's been a pleasure.